Hi, my name is Pie Guy. In today's video, I'll be using C++ to make a video game. Normally, I use the Python programming language with a Pygame game engine. The Python language is also very different from C++ language. While Python is easier to read, it's slower at bigger projects, whereas the C++ language is harder to read and but runs faster. Now before we get started, I am also making a horror game called Hunted. You play multiple different mazes trying to collect 3 keys per map while trying to evade a ghost before time or your health runs out. I'm updating the game weekly, and you can check out the trailer on my channel and the latest game version at my itch.io page. Link in the description. Now, let's get into the video. Originally, I was going to pick the Raylib game library since I was very proficient with it, the Python version, while making my Hunted game. However, no matter how hard I tried, I simply couldn't get it to run. I then thought of using more popular game engines like Unity, Unreal, or Godot, but realizing I prefer making the entire game engine from scratch rather than learning a new one, and due to the more scummy business practice of some companies, not Godot, I decided to go for a more popular game library, OpenGL. Then, when I realized setting it up was harder than that of the Raylib game engine, I went with the easier SDL library. Perhaps I'll use OpenGL some other time. Side note, to the best of my knowledge, the difference between a game engine and game library is that a game library has you making the screen and properly closing it, needing your own code editor, not being as big as a game engine, and not having its own language. Most game engines have and make all that from the get-go. For example, Pygame is a game library, or is a framework, I can never tell the difference. Just know whichever one you choose has its own ups and downs. Now that I had my game library thing, I was off. I started by taking the example code from the Geeks for Geeks, shout out to them, and created a simple screen. After editing the code a little and getting rid of the SDL image library, I'm sure that won't come back again, I was off, and created 2 rectangles as well. I added simple input and came to my first true problem. With a C++ and SDL case input, only one key can be read at a time, or at least that's how many inputs can be processed with the SDL poll event function. So instead of learning same time input, I made the other paddle AI. Then added the ball, which movement wasn't too hard to make as I've made the Pong game before, and after a while using C++, it was more of a syntax problem than a how-to problem. I say this immediately after the ball starts zooming around the place. I figure this was because all SDL rectangle classes can only take int whole values, not floats, decimals, meaning it can't move by a float value either. I tried using the SDL copy function to take all the SDL rect values and simply draw it, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get the image library to work. It did come back again. So to recap, I made 2 rectangles, added a simple AI, made a rectangle take an input, and continuously moving entity, albeit it's hard to show at regular speeds. I can't wait to continue working and getting better tomorrow. The next day, I realized how I could solve my fastball issue. Simply put, I can make a timed interval where one number would continuously increase, and when I got to the second number, it would reset and do an action. That action can be the ball moving, and if done fast enough, it won't even be noticeable that it's moving on intervals. Like the way Baldi moves in the Baldi Basics game, except faster. Make sense? No? Well, it doesn't matter, because the next day, the game was working properly, and the ball moved at a regular speed even though it was falling at int value. Whatever. Moving on, I went on to add the collision and text. At the moment, the ball isn't exactly bouncing off the paddles. It's bouncing off the x-axis of the paddles, not even accounting if it's touching the y-axis. So I looked up how to do the collision, and after adding the example, it worked. Just like that. Nice. Next was the respawn. Okay, now it's time for the score text. Side note, you probably noticed that the paddle on the left, that's player controlled, stutters. I don't know how to fix it, and frankly, I don't care. Drawing the score, on the other hand, was a lot more complicated. For some reason, just like the image library, the text library was also not working, and try as I might, I simply couldn't get the library included. So, in the end, I have made a Pong clone with every feature except the score. To be honest, I thought I'd do way worse and quit after the first failed attempt to even run OpenGL, but I pushed on and made a somewhat decent Pong game. Sure, there's no score, sure the player paddle stutters, but in the end the whole point of this was to learn C++ and SDL. And who knows, maybe in the future I'll tackle this project with the knowledge to make the best Pong clone known to man. Until then, this is Pie Guy, signing off. And oh yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.